If you watch my channel, you know when it comes to From Software Soulsborne games, I value their unparalleled minute-to-minute combat gameplay above all else. In my opinion, there's a lot of games out there today with interesting peripheral ingredients, let's call them, and poor gameplay. But there's far fewer games with amazing peripheral ingredients and amazing gameplay. From Software Soulsborne games being first and foremost on that list, at least in my mind. And for me, peripheral ingredients include art direction, lore, and last but not least, music. Sure, the combat gameplay of Dark Souls or Bloodborne, that anchors these games, that's their foundation. But if you stripped away the other ingredients like music, these games would truly cease to be what they are. They would lose their signature identity. Those extra ingredients, that's what truly pushes them over the edge of greatness and places them among the greatest video games ever created. And that's why I want to continue my Pre-Elden Ring Ranking video series and pay tribute to my 10 favorite pieces of music from these 6 games spanning Demon Souls to Sekiro. I previously ranked my top 10 favorite Soulsborne bosses, so feel free to go check out that video if you haven't already. I like this idea of reflecting on these games that have meant so much to me over the years as we approach the release date of FromSoft's much anticipated new game. I've been a musical person my entire life, and I genuinely appreciate great soundtracks and audio design in video games. But to call the Soulsborne soundtracks great, that feels like a serious understatement. I don't know what single superlative could adequately articulate the quality of the now classic compositions by Motoi Sakuraba, Yuka Kitamura, and others who have scored these games over the last 12 years. So many of these compositions are simply unforgettable. They're inseparable from the in-game content itself. If I were to name a random Soulsborne boss, let's say Vort of the Boreal Valley from Dark Souls 3, one of the first things that likely pops into your head is Vort's theme. That now memed to death operatic chanting. Is Vort the best or hardest Soulsborne boss? No, of course not. But that theme song alone does so much to solidify his place in your mind and in Soulsborne's boss battle pantheon. But all this talk of music is not to say that Soulsborne games are full of it. Unlike many games today, Soulsborne titles are notable for their very curated and sparing use of music, like a painter carefully utilizing white, empty negative space on his or her canvas. Hidetaka Miyazaki and the FromSoft team primarily reserve music for main menus, hub areas, and boss battles. And I think this is one of the main reasons why the music we do hear in these games remains so memorable. The music isn't just there to replace the silence, it helps to tell the story of a boss character, of a hub area, of the world itself. It has this way of gelling with all those other peripheral ingredients and that foundational combat to create a cohesive experience that, in my opinion, stands unrivaled in video games today. Briefly, before I share my top 10 favorite pieces of Soulsborne music, I feel the need to offer the same caveat I offered at the beginning of my 10 favorite bosses video. Remember, these are my personal favorite pieces of Soulsborne music. I'm not saying they're objectively the best. These are simply the pieces that resonate most with me, and I'm very eager to hear about your personal top 10 list in the comments. And I expect your list will be somewhat, if not entirely different than mine. The fact that we all have unique experiences with these games and that we all have different bosses or pieces of music we love most, that's precisely what makes for fun and interesting discussion. But I'm sure, regardless of this road sign, 1 or 2 people in the comments will still go, "Hey, one of the songs on my list isn't also on your list, and that makes me mad." Oh well, get over it. Now, without further delay, let's get into it. Here are my top 10 favorite pieces of Soulsborne music, going from number 10 to number 1, with number 1 being my very favorite. So number 10, Bill Hemstapat's Penetrator, a rearrangement of Shunsuke Kita's Tower Knight for the PlayStation 5 remake of Demon Souls. Penetrator is one of the most memorable bosses from Demon Souls, but as players of the original PS3 version of the game will recall, he didn't have a unique theme song. When his boss battle begins, you simply hear the Tower Knights theme again. I always thought this was strange and kind of a disservice to this boss, whose design and dramatic entrance cutscene were clearly instrumental in influencing Dark Souls and the subsequent Soulsborne games that followed. So I love that Bill Hemstepat, the composer who reimagined Shunsuke Kita's original score for the PS5 remake, composed unique tracks for both the Tower Knight and Penetrator, both of which still make use of Kita's original melody. And while both tracks are awesome, two of my favorites on the OST, Penetrator's dramatic theme, its furious, sweeping nature, that sense of grand tragedy, really reminds me of the music of Bloodborne. And that's not by accident. Jim Fowler, the orchestrator for the Demon's Souls remake, said Bloodborne influenced the ways in which the team handled the game's reimagined soundtrack in terms of the scale of the sound and the combination of choir and orchestra. And look, you're not going to please everyone, and plenty of people prefer the dark minimalism of the original PS3 soundtrack, and that's fine. But I, for one, love this new OST, and it's one of the many ingredients for me that makes this my favorite video game remake of all time. Just take a listen. Number 9, Motoi Sakuraba's main menu theme from Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 2 is the most polarizing Soulsborne game, as it is the only one that Miyazaki himself did not direct, and it definitely has some shortcomings when compared to the other games. But admittedly, I've always had a soft spot for DS2. I'd still rather play it than any of the other third-person action RPGs from its day, like Assassin's Creed Unity or The Witcher 3. And for me, part of its charm, one of its highly redeeming qualities, is its soundtrack. DS2's OST, co-composed by Sakuraba and Kitamura, takes the series into some new and exciting musical territory. I enjoy a lot of tracks in this game, but one of my very favorites is curiously absent from the OST itself, that being Sakuraba's main menu theme. Stripped down piano tracks have always been one of Sakuraba's strengths, whether it's Gwen's theme from DS1, Vendrick's theme from DS2, but this main menu theme is unlike anything else. It just transports me to some sad, mysterious, faraway place. It represents the game's best moments, that melody, that atmosphere, the way the reverb-saturated notes linger and echo. I honestly feel that this menu theme alone elevates DS2, that this game would be less than what it is without the inclusion of this track. It's one that I often like to throw on in the background while I'm working on something. Number 8, Yuka Kitamura's Firelink Shrine from Dark Souls 3. Over the years, I've heard some players rag on DS3's Firelink Shrine hub area, and I never understood why. In my mind, this is the most Miyazakian place imaginable. Piles of ash, melting candles, and vacant thrones, all in this dark, dank, underground dome. Yeah, I love the Nexus, I love Majula, I love the Hunter's Dream. But DS3's Firelink Shrine has always been my personal favorite hub area. Its aesthetics just speak to me. And because DS3 is likely my personal favorite Soulsborne game, I've played it more than any other. It's the one I consider myself most knowledgeable of or skilled at when it comes to speedrunning and combat proficiency. movie, and for those reasons, I've just spent so much time over the years hearing this piece of music. When I think of Dark Souls musically, this hub theme by Kitamura is likely what first pops into my head. Those raw, scratchy strings, the soft, haunting female vocals. I know some players prefer DS3's alternate hub theme, Secret Betrayal, and I love that track too, but the vanilla Firelink theme from DS3 simply holds a special place in my heart, and that's why it's number 8 on my list. Number 7, Ryan Amon's Hunter's Dream from Bloodborne. The Bloodborne OST features a number of talented composers, including Kitamura, but for me, the real breakout star was American composer Ryan Amon. His tracks are just incredible, fitting and familiar, yet also entirely unique from anything we had ever previously heard before in a Soulsborne game. And Hunter's Dream, the hub area theme of this game, is transcendent. Bloodborne not only offers one of the greatest combat loops in video game history, but its world and lore are so mystical, so cryptic. Some things are explained, sure, but even more is left to the player's imagination. And Amon's composition here, that unforgettable melody, I believe it's played on a cello, perfectly captures the dark yet inviting qualities of this otherworldly hub. I could be anywhere, doing anything, and if I heard this track, I'd instantly be transported back to this game, back to the Hunter's Workshop. I do associate this piece of music with sleep, but I can't quite put my finger on which stage of sleep. Falling asleep, waking up, or lost in a deep, deep dream. Probably the latter. There's never been a bad hub theme in Soulsborne, but Hunter's Dream just might be my personal favorite, even over DS3's Firelink theme. The variation of Hunter's Dream, Moonlit Melody, is also beautiful, but my fondest memories are with this original hub theme. Number 6, Chris Velasco's Amygdala from Bloodborne. Here's another banger from the Bloodborne OST by prolific American video game soundtrack composer Chris Velasco. I could tell early in my initial playthrough of Bloodborne that there was more going on in this world than bloodlust and torches and pitchforks. There was something deeply disturbing laying just beneath the surface, and all of these Lovecraftian hints, like a trail of breadcrumbs left by Miyazaki and the team, led me straight to the Nightmare Frontier and the boss battle with Amygdala, where my suspicions were confirmed. It always annoys me when people act like you just need to throw some tentacles into the mix to make something Lovecraftian, but anyone who's actually read Lovecraft's work knows his unique sense of horror involves more than just tentacles. Yes, body horror is part of the Lovecraft cocktail, but a more important ingredient is a fear of the unknown. Or more specifically, the risks associated with scientific discovery. And that's Bloodborne, not just a story of a blood-obsessed town gone mad, but a history of strange cosmic beings known as the Great Ones. And that's where this quintessential boss battle comes in. Velasco does such a great job of capturing that sense of disbelieving horror in this track, and he also captures the drama of the player's battle with this many-armed, many-eyed monstrosity. I love this boss battle, and it wouldn't be the same without this theme song. I love how it picks up right here. Number 5, Yuka Kitamura's Sir Alan from Dark Souls 2. This might be an unpopular opinion, but I actually don't love this boss battle itself. Its run up through the memory of the old Iron King, packed to the brim with Alan Knights and Flame Lizards, is DS2 at its trolliest and gankiest. And Alan himself has some pretty janky hitboxes. But there's no denying that the design of his armor and his katana, the design of this epic chamber with its tiled floors, offering gorgeous screen space reflections of the orange sky beyond its great arched windows, that all of these ingredients are awe-inspiring. Throw in this theme song by Kitamura, and this moment encapsulates what Dark Souls is all about. The DS2 OST pushes into some new musical territory, as I mentioned earlier, but in this late DLC track, you can really tell that Kitamura was evolving as an artist. The sweeping strings and call-and-response style interplay between the male and female choirs, this track wouldn't have been out of place in the DS3 OST. In fact, it offers a hint of where Kitamura was headed stylistically with the next Dark Souls soundtrack. Those opening wails by the choir as Alan stands and draws his weapon, a foreign traveler who became the old Iron King's most trusted knight. So epic, so dramatic. Sonically, this is Dark Souls in a nutshell, in a single 3-minute track. Number 4, Bill Hemstapat's rearrangement of Shunsuke Kita's Flame Lurker from the PlayStation 5 remake of Demon Souls. Kita's original Flame Lurker melody is so good, but I can't believe what Hemstapat was able to do with it here. Simply put, this is my favorite track on the Demon Souls OST, and one of my favorite Soulsborne tracks of all time. It perfectly captures the fiery drama that plays out deep in Stonefang Tunnel. In this track, I hear the aggression of Flame Lurker, sure, but I also hear the tragedy of this world that has been hopelessly swallowed by fog. I don't even know what else I can say about this track. I can barely sit still while listening to it. It gets me so amped up. The melody is so infectious. The choir is so in your face, driving the track forward. There's even this awesome little Bloodborne-esque interlude in the middle of the track that sucks you in before spitting you right back out and back to the main melody. This is such an achievement by Hemstapat. And if you're a metalhead like me, you have to check out Richard E.B.'s cover of this song. This track is so suited to his style of guitar playing, and he totally kills it. Number 3, Ryan Amon's The Hunter from Bloodborne. The Bloodborne soundtrack just may be my favorite of all the game's OSTs, and this is undoubtedly my favorite track in the entire game. Amon killed it. This composition does so much to bring this game and its world and its characters to life. Through the strings and the horns, you can hear Gascoigne, his mad bloodlust. You can picture the foggy cemetery outside the tomb of Uden. You can sense the horror, the tragedy of his corruption, the abandonment of his daughter, his missing wife. Where is she? Did he kill her? Did she also go mad? You barely have enough time to consider all of this before you need to dodge the furious swings of Gascoigne's axe or the staggering shots of his blunderbuss. Musically, it's like something straight out of a black and white 20th century horror film. Dracula, Creature of the Black Lagoon, that kind of stuff. And then, if this track wasn't already stunning enough, Amon goes full on heavy metal midway through. Yes, I know we're dealing with brassy orchestral music here, but forget genres for a moment. In terms of structure, in terms of tempo, in terms of intensity, this pivot at the 1 minute 40-second mark of this track is as heavy metal as it gets. I can't ever hear this section of the song without involuntarily or voluntarily headbanging. It's so sick. This is what Bloodborne is all about. Number 2, Yuka Kitamura's Abyss Watchers from Dark Souls 3. This is my single favorite piece of music Kitamura has ever composed for a From Software game. The chilling tolls of that bell, the haunting female vocal melody, wandering and winding, the almost guttural male choir below, the strings that kick in on top. This is what Dark Souls is all about. Musically, to me, this track represents not just this boss battle or this game, but the entire trilogy, this tragic, fading world of which we, the Ashen One, are an integral part. I love midway through how all percussive elements fade away and we're left with only the female vocals and strings before, just like the fallen Abyss Watchers, the orchestra slowly begins to rebuild itself for one final push to the end. And think about it, the Abyss Watchers are the first Lords of Cinder you face in DS3. At this point, you're maybe only a quarter of the way through your playthrough, not even halfway. And listen to this music. This blows final boss battle themes from other games out of the water. And the Watchers themselves are so cool. Their armor and weapon designs are so sick. As in-game text tells us, it is unknown whether one or all of the Abyss Watchers linked the fire. Perhaps they worked as a team to push back the darkness. And when we find them in Farron Keep battling one another like a pack of feral wolves, we are left to wonder if the Abyss itself drove them mad. However, they still managed to guard the entrance to the catacombs of Karthus, where High Lord Wolnir succumbed to the Abyss. Just listen to this. And my number one favorite piece of music in all of Soulsborne is Motoi Sakuraba's A Moment's Peace from Dark Souls. This is the one track that leaves me almost speechless. In part, it holds a special place in my heart because it's simply a beautiful piece of music, beautiful enough to bring you to tears or gently lull you off to sleep. But in part, it also holds a special place in my heart because it's the first piece of music I ever associated with Soulsborne. As I covered in my Dark Souls 10th anniversary video essay, Dark Souls was my first From Software game back in late 2011, and as soon as this music kicked in on the character creation screen and I took a good long look at the avatar or character who would represent me in this harsh fading world, well, I knew I was in for something very, very special. This track teleports me mentally, sort of in the way that the DS2 menu music does, but it takes me to an even calmer, safer place. And that's probably why this song and that harp-based melody affect me so profoundly. For a decade now, in times good and times bad, Soulsborne has always been a safe place for me. I don't play these games to escape reality. I play them to get in touch with myself, my strengths and my weaknesses, my sensibilities as a human being. I think I'll leave it at that, but suffice it to say, this is my favorite piece of music in any From Software game to date, and it's hard to imagine, for all the reasons I stated, that it'll ever be topped. So that's it. Those are my 10 favorite pieces of music in From Software's Soulsborne games. My list includes 3 tracks from Bloodborne, 2 tracks from DS3, 2 tracks from DS2, 2 tracks from Demon's Souls, and 1 track from DS1. It was tough omitting my favorite Sekiro tracks, but if we're talking top 10, the style of music in Bloodborne and the Souls games just resonates with me a little more. And I have to admit, in general, narrowing down this list was way harder than it was for my top 10 bosses list. I could have easily done my top 20 or 30 pieces of music. I have so many honorable mentions, but if this list continued through number 15, 11 might be Sword Saint from Sekiro, 12 might be Ebrietis, Daughter of the Cosmos from Bloodborne, 13 might be the First Hunter from Bloodborne, 14 might be Ludwig the Holy Blade from Bloodborne, and 15 might be Maiden in Black from the Demon's Souls remake. Oh, and I love Sekiro's main menu theme too. Or Premonition, or Udex Gundyr, or Slave Knight Gale from DS3. See, that's the thing. It's so hard to pick favorites. I don't want to leave any out. Which is why I'm turning things over to you now. I loved reading your top 10 bosses lists back in early August when I published that video, so I want to see your top 10 favorite pieces of music list down in the comments. That includes any tracks from any versions of the 6 mainline games. Go for it. And remember that you can also connect with me on Twitter, on Instagram, on Discord, and on Patreon at patreon.com/Terrapop, where I offer all kinds of cool tiers and perks for my patrons, including an exclusive podcast and an exclusive newsletter. So thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you next time.